Yeah, I was starting from scratch there. Let's not do that. Let's just continue with this drawing here. So we can XREF in, again, we'll XREF in our E base and P base. And EG is already in here. It's just at a no display, which is fine. All right, so let's go back to edit network. There's existing pipes and structures in here already. We're just going to edit network. Surface, EG surface is already set. The parts list is set to existing water. We want to set that to water services. Okay. I'm just going to set this to null structure. When you're drawing pipe in, you want a structure on both ends of your pipe. So when you are editing, it's easier to move the structure than to move the pipe around. And you'll see that later in this lesson. But and then we can set this service. Typically 2 inches is fine. And then this glyph here is your insertion point. Just leave that as a default. This toggle is pipes and structures, pipes only, structures only. I usually just leave it on pipes and structures. This is the direction of flow. So it's always, it defaults to upslope to downslope. So if you're drawing a gravity network like storm or sanitary, you always want to draw from uphill to downhill. You can set it the other way if you are running a pipe off of that, but I always leave it just upstream to downstream. So then your ins will be ins and your outs will be outs. If this is reversed and you're coming in, you're drawing it in backwards, your flow would be backwards. So usually can see that where your connection point is. You'll either have no out or 2 outs or something like that. You always want just 1 out. So in this case, it's pressurized, so we don't care, but we're just going to draw it from the existing main into the building. So we can go and highlight this button here, and then it's going to ask you for an insertion point. I'm just going to grab an arbitrary point off of this water line. And drop it right here. And these two little highlighted glyphs state that it's going to split the pipe right there. So it split the pipe in 2, and then it drew a null structure in, and then we're just going to go perpendicular to our building here, like so. And then we can adjust this whenever we need to pull it back, or 5 feet from the edge of the building. But this will, with these with this surface set, it goes through some rules that are set up with the styles, and it'll say that it'll give it 4.5 feet of cover below the EG surface, and it'll give for gravity, it'll give a minimum slope and a maximum slope, and but in this case, we just need the cover to be at least 4.5 feet. So if we look at this pipe now, we can highlight the pipe, go into the pipe properties. 2-inch water service. We don't typically name the pipe. We name the structures on either end. If there is a structure there, we'll put a T there. But in the properties, it'll show the slope here, and then invert elevation. This is all your pipe information here. And then the rules are set. Here's the length of the pipe. Your minimum and maximum slopes really doesn't apply. Slopes don't apply to water so much because it's pressurized, but we just set it to a minimum of 0. So structures for water and actually any type of fitting, tees, bends, things like that. You always want to use a null structure because the way that these were built in Part Builder, they don't show up correct in profile if they are set to a fitting. So we just changed the way this null structure looks in the settings. So if we go into and highlight this structure here, go into structure properties. Still going to be a null structure. We're just going to change the style. So we're not going to swap it to a fitting part. We're just going to make it look like a fitting. So we go into the style here, and I'm not sure what that water line size is. I'm just going to guess that it's an 8-inch T. So we're just going to drop an 8-inch T in here. And it's going to be water. And then we would just call this an 8-inch caps. And then we would name this accordingly. This would be, if it's the only line, we just call it fit for fitting, line A01. So it's fitting the service line, and then it starts at number 1. So there's our fitting. Then we just highlight this and rotate it into place. You can pick the center point down here as a rotation point. There's our fitting. So as we're adding these parts into this utility drawing, we won't ever label these in this plan view, just because those labels will carry over every time we XREF in this utility drawing into all of our plan sets. All those labels show up in every one of those, and you have to just freeze them off, and it's just a pain. So we never label in plan view. Just keep that in mind. Profile, we'll do the profiles because they only show up in one viewport anyways. So we can label the profile views, but in plan view, we'll XREF this into the plan set and then label it in there. And depending on if it's a site plan or a CD set, they're labeled kind of differently. So we have different styles for plan sets and CD sets. And to label these, if we're in the plan set view in a sheet for an overall utility plan, for instance, we would just go to our price tag here and set our feature to pipe network. You can do the entire plan, or you can do it individually with a single part plan. We'll do the entire plan here, and we can go over these styles at another date, but for a typical site plan, you would just set the pipe description, and then the pipe diameter and material, and then the structure would just be a description. So we just add here. Actually, I'm going to set this back to single because I don't want to label all these existing pipes. So I'm just going to do single and set this to plan description and add these labels in. So there's the T, there's the pipe. And then we would just drag this or place T2 if this was rotated. You could do that, but that's for your plan set. So we'll just delete those. Here's where your labels reside, and there's dozens of them. So, and then for a sanitary line, same idea. We could go over to our sanitary here, go to edit network. Our sanitary.
Jeff, I think your screen capture might be frozen.
Is it?
Yeah, you're still on the water line on my screen.
Let's see.
Yeah, it just froze.
Yeah. Let me redo this. How about now?
No, now it's just, oh, yep, it's working.
Okay. So again, I went to sanitary line here. I mean sanitary network. Edit network. Here's the network name, sanitary. It's set to existing sanitary parts list. First we want to set the surface. And then
so we'd obviously use FG surface if we were doing this for real, right?
Of course. Yeah, if we've got FG in here, yeah, we would use FG. We're going to set the sanitary as our parts list. Okay. All the rest of this looks okay. We're going to set, it's just a service line, so we're going to set a null structure again. And we'll just use the 6-inch sanitary service. Leave this default. We're going to go from uphill to downhill. So we're going to grab the draw pipes and structures, and we're going to come off of this building, say over here somewhere. I'm just going to draw it so it's perpendicular to this line. I'm going to draw it right here. And then we're going in the downhill direction into this pipe here. Oh, it didn't make it perpendicular. But actually, we can just go tie right into that this manhole. So we'll just hover over this manhole. It's that little circle glyph is saying that it's going to connect. We just connect into that manhole. We've got our null structure on one end, and it's connecting into this existing manhole here. So now we want to check this, these connections, these inverts. So highlight this existing manhole. Go into our structure properties. And we want to look at our connections. It looks like maybe one of these pipes isn't connected. So we have our existing here. When I highlight this, it highlights the pipe. This other pipe isn't connected. So we can connect that in a second, but we want to be coming in higher by 2/10 off of this manhole, assuming that these inverts are correct. So we just want to go 61, 66.2 here. And then say okay. And then we need to make sure that this slope is going in a downhill direction. To connect this this pipe into this manhole here, you just highlight this pipe and go up to our connect part in our pipes editor, connect the part, and now that should be connected. So we should have two ins and an out here on this manhole. Go back into structure properties. So here's our two ins and our out. So this, yeah, this already picked up the correct invert. It just maybe got disconnected at some point because it looks like it was, the invert is correct.
Where did you get that? Why did you set it 2/10 higher?
So there's always a pipe drop in a manhole. That's just standard for sanitary and storm manholes.
Okay.
So we want to look at this pipe and make sure that it's going in the right, sloping in the right direction. We go to pipe properties. Go into part properties. It's holding this, we're holding the start and it's going up at a 1.81. We don't want that. So we want to hold the end where it's connecting into that manhole and go up at a 2%. So now the start, it's going from the start going down at 2, and the reason we hold the end is because we're already connected at the right invert at the end point where we're connecting into the manhole. So I just held the end and went back in a positive direction up to the building at 2%. That makes sense. If we were kind of setting this manhole ourselves, we could go from the building and go and hold the start, go down at 2, and then whatever the invert was at the end, we could adjust that way. And we'll have to adjust. We may have to adjust this end because the 2% may not have enough cover. And we could run a profile of this to check that, or we can just look at this structure here. Go into structure properties. Go into part properties. The surface elevation is 75.67 there. And if we go into our connections, our crown elevation is 70.6, so it's 5 feet deep there, so we're good.
For the scope of our plans, we just have to show that pipe connecting to the building. Just like that.
Yeah, we don't have to go inside the building. Once we get to the building, we're done.
We don't change the structure type or anything there. It just connects.
No, it's just an open-ended
okay.
stuff. Yep. And I put a a null structure in there, just because it's just easier to move this, this structure around, like so. Where did it go? So if we needed to move this, just highlight the null structure. But the pipe goes with it because it's connected. So same thing in our overall utility plan, we would just label this as pipe and material, and then we would label this as a existing 4-foot manhole. If we were to plan and profile this, we would run this profile, show this existing manhole and the pipe, and show all the information in the label for this structure. For services, no plan and profiles. And then if we want to add to this, if we were to add another service, or we're adding more sanitary somewhere, you just go back in, highlight the pipe, and then go in and say edit network. And if we are drawing some manholes in with some 8-inch pipe, we would set that here and just start running and continuing with the same network. And just laying out more structures and pipes. So is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty simple, and then we'll get into storm is a little different. With it's just different styles, but it's all gravity as well. And then water is a pressurized. Sometimes we use pressure networks, sometimes we don't. Pressure networks are really quirky, and they don't always. It's a totally different beast, and it's they're tough to edit after you run a pipe, create a pipe run, and it's very unstable. But they're fixing it with each release, and I would say it's still not at 100%. So it's okay to use regular networks to run a water line. It's easier, but it's it just has its drawbacks. But that's pretty much it for this introduction. This will get you so you can lay out your services.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, right on. And then I'll show you how to bring that XML information in so we can actually get the new locates on this stuff.
Yeah, that can be literally anytime today. I know you've got Redstone, so
yeah,
just whenever.
That's a 5-minute thing, so I can show you right after this.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks for watching.
Thank you.